I'm going to be posting a link for you all to sign up for the Ask Stuart Hour that'll take place live, we hope, from LeBlanc Los Cabos. And my wife, Kimberly, is coming with me because we're going to hang out for some R&R there. And I'm going to be working on the Group Sales Success Summit. If you have any questions or comments regarding GSSS 2, please let me know. Let's discuss it. And if you have any issues, questions, comments you want to bring forward, go ahead and type them in now. If you want your microphone turned on, please let me know as well. I want to start off asking this question to see if anybody has an immediate reactions here. And we're going to move on because we have so much stuff. Danny, I've got your stuff. Hans, I've got your stuff. Kieran, I've got your stuff here. A lot. But Dawn posted this a week or two back in boot camp regarding TripAdvisor. I just returned from 2 fabulous fam trips where I did a lot of excursions and tours and made she basically had personal requests for her to leave her experience, her comments on TripAdvisor. So when you travel, whether it's on vacation or you're on a fan trip, are people asking you, prodding you, nudging you, and maybe nudging in a bad way too, to leave them positive comments on TripAdvisor? It happens to me all the time. So she wants to know, are you? Because especially on a fam trip, you're there for business. So your experience may not be the same as a regular guest, or maybe it will be. So I'm just going to take a quick look now to see if any of you have commented. If you guys and gals leave comments on TripAdvisor, Debbie said Scott is kicking butt. Yes, Scott is kicking butt because he went to that meeting, got business cards, followed up by email, and is now requesting 15-minute meetings. Let's see where that goes. So a quick question. Nobody has a comment on that? We're good? Okay. Maybe you're commenting and I don't see it just yet, but we'll have to follow up and see if anybody else comments back. All right, we're going to go right to Danny. So here's my 2 cents on that. The thing about TripAdvisor is that you usually get the extremes. The people who have a lousy time, they always make a comment. The people who have a phenomenal time, they make a comment. If you've got time to do it, do it. If you think there's something important to share. See, as far as I'm concerned, I believe that all of these providers, there's an expectation they're going to do a good job. So why on earth would I go out of my way to leave positive comments if they're delivering to my expectations? I'm just saying. If something to me was extraordinarily good, I'll leave a comment. If something was extraordinarily bad, I'll leave a comment. Okay? That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know. Ted's commenting. Hey, Ted, I hope you're enjoying boot camp. Says the 15-minute meeting is a great way to let people to let you get in versus cold calling. I've already found some great leads with the technique. Leg up. Thank you, Ted. Leg up. See, I'm too excited here. I want to catch up for lost time in the first 10 minutes that we missed. Ted, I appreciate that. It's a great, it's people, if you present it right, they don't think you're getting in there to beat them over the head, to sell themselves. It's not like an opportunity meeting. It needs to be true, Ted. You need to, as Scott did, truly get across that you're there to learn and fulfill that. Because if you blow it, if you start selling, if you drop brochures on their desk, they're going to boot you out of the office, and it's just not going to work. Ted, thank you for sharing. Okay, so Danny, are you with us right now? So Danny's working on another photographer right now to do a photography workshop, and they're looking at potentially doing coastal Norway. And this particular photographer likes to keep the group small, about 10 people, including the leader who would be running and teaching the workshop. But here's the issue. And by the way, folks, this is a niche that Danny is looking to champion. Has already done one, right, Danny? You've already done one? with somebody else. We seem to be back and forth on different destinations. I've gone through most of the boot camp modules, but need to find a destination to be interested in going to. I know that he keeps his group small, 10 or so. We know he usually does things on his own and never used a travel agent before. So to me, Danny, this is the big clue, the big opportunity where you can give him a reason why he needs you, why he should be hiring you, why he should never do this again. Because it's up to you, listen everybody, to know more than him, to have more experience. And while, Danny, you may not be able to say, I think you should go here to coastal Norway, but I think your opportunity is to play detective, find out what are his goals, personal, professional goals and dreams. Where have you been that you want to go back to? Where have you never been that you've always wanted to go to photograph? All right, but also keep in mind it needs to be tempered with budgets and time away. So if he's done this before, what's been the average price point? If it was a lower price point, would he get more people? If it was more an exotic destination and a higher price point, would he get more people? So it's important to take a holistic view of what he's done, what his goals are, and where he personally, because Danny, we want him to be very excited about where you're going. Man, when it comes to photography, I can't think of a more important issue than where. What do you want to take pictures of? The ocean, the foliage, the people, the structures, the architecture. So here's the bottom line here. Here's an opportunity for you, Danny, and everybody else when you approach somebody who's never used an agent before. Mind you, they have no idea what you're good for. They don't know your value. You need to earn it. You need to prove it. So by asking those high mileage questions and coming back with one or two choices, or I should say 2 or 3 choices, no more, and pointing out the features and benefits, more important than the features, the benefits. So it looks like you've done your homework based on his feedback. You are in essence, and here's the key takeaway, my friends, you are taking control. Why do you hire a real estate agent to sell your house? You want the agent to take control. You can't do it as well on your own. You ain't got the time. You have got the expertise. You ain't got the knowledge. Why on earth do you hire an agent, a real estate agent, to go find you a house to buy? Because you need an expert. And if that real estate agent didn't take control, but just say, okay, tell me what you want me to do. Where do you want to go? What house do you want to stop in? Where do you want to look? You would say, whoa, 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 I'm hiring you to do that for me. Danny, it's the same thing. Friends, it's the same thing. Consumers hire travel professionals to do the work they don't know how to do, they're afraid to do, because they're afraid to miss out and make mistakes. So step up, show them you know more than them, make the qualified suggestions so they know you listen to them, and set up the next steps. You need, set up these next steps here. And see, Danny, and I know he wants to keep it small, so I don't want to be the one to see if you can urge him to go bigger, because I'm the one who tells you it's not about quantity, it's about quality. All right? But I've got to believe that the answer is already there. You need to bring it out of him and take over, take control to make it the most successful ever. Let me just see if there's any comments or questions there. Nope, I don't see any comments or questions. Anybody want to say something, add something? Danny, are you here? Danny, I don't know. I know, Danny, you were on before, and then we almost got, hey, Ceci's here. What's up? Nope, I don't think Danny was able to join. Nope, Danny is here. Nope, Danny's not here. Okay, let's get right back in here. We're going to go to Hans. Tune in, everybody. Thanks for being here, Hans. I appreciate it. Today I spoke with a local Rotary Club of about 50 to 60 members, And Hans gave what he calls his travel safe talk. I believe the talk went fine. They had good questions, and some folks came up afterwards and they said they enjoyed it, which is awesome. So Hans, well, one quick question I want to ask is, did you give them a little takeaway? Did you give them a hot sheet, a one-page, what I call a special report PDF? I got that name from Mike Marshev. So that maybe you talked about 5 points, but in your handout PDF it recap those 5 and maybe give them an extra 2, but it's also a way to brand yourself. Instead of maybe they didn't want to take your business card, but you've got your name and contact information and your URL there because maybe they have a trip coming up, an opportunity for you to help them. So after the talk, this is Hans talking, approached the president of the club who's in charge of the fundraising for the club. And see what Hans is doing here. He's getting in the door. He's not just getting in to make a hardcore sales presentation. He's sharing his knowledge. He's doing free stuff. He's giving back to the community in the hopes that there's somebody there who says, wait, I need this guy to help me. And Hans, you did the right thing. You approached the president and you explained to him how you work with nonprofits to help them raise money with travel programs and asked if you could meet for a 15-minute meeting to explain how the program worked. Now, here's the twist, friends. He seemed genuinely interested, but then said, let me get your name and number, and I'll call you. And he wrote my name and number down. Well, I never liked the idea of someone calling me, obviously, because he probably will not. So here are my thoughts. First, I think he was probably ready to get out of there after the meeting, and it was for him just to take my name and number. And Hans, you absolutely may be right. You know, sometimes these meetings take place during the day, during the lunch hour, and business people like you, everybody, you want to get in and get out. You really don't have time to do the networking thing, especially if this person is the president, whatever. Everyone can be busy, whether it's personally or professionally, and they may not have time to stand around and chat more. Secondly, Hans says he may have thought, okay, this guy just gave a talk and now he's trying to sell us something. Or maybe something else. And Hans, maybe you're right. We don't really know what went through his mind. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom. Maybe he had to go pick up his kids from school. Maybe he had a job interview. It could be a million billion things. Or maybe he didn't like you. He didn't want to talk to you. He was afraid you were going to sell him something because at the end of the day, you did ask him for a 15-minute meeting to sell him something, didn't you? To explain your big idea. Understand what I just said. You asked him for a 15-minute meeting, which is great because there's a beginning and a hard stop to that, and that sometimes will give people cause to say, okay, I'll give this guy 15 minutes, but then he's out if I don't like him or her. But maybe he was afraid of the sales pitch because it was your big idea. So let me just finish this up, friends. Hans says, I think a better approach would be to ask for his card and send him a thank you for the invitation to speak at the club and include my not-for-profit Travel Alliance brochure along with a note asking to get together with him sometime. Hans, I do believe that is a good practice, and it's not too late to do with this guy. And I do believe it's something good to do in the future. Let me explain. Somebody lets you in the door to give a free presentation. And after it's done, they're like, okay, this guy and gal is pretty cool. They shared good information. And I'm impressed. They weren't banging us on their head trying to sell something. So you've established great credibility and integrity. So instead of going and right after trying to sell your big idea, even though you didn't, Hans, you didn't go into detail, you asked for an appointment after, which is commendable. You got to do these things. Maybe a better approach is just that. Focus on gratitude first. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Was there anything that I just spoke about that was new for you? Did I inspire you in any way? I'd love your feedback. So focus on the event, what you just presented, get their feedback. And then say, because maybe they've got to run to the bathroom, maybe they've got to pick up the kids from school, maybe they've got to get back to work immediately. Say, may I have your card? Perhaps we can have coffee. or just may I have your card. It depends on what level of aggressiveness you want to be. But the most important thing is to send a thank you card immediately and instantly. How great would it be, Hans, if you took a picture of the group? If you took a selfie with the president? You know, there are easy computer programs now that you can create a card online, right? And I don't use that actually, create a card. I send a card, whatever it's called. I use, oh my goodness, I have my own card system that I use. It's free. And I upload the picture, boom, send the card right from the computer. How cool would that be? So he remembers who you are, Hans. He's a busy guy. He may not remember you. He may have done a million things by the time he gets your thank you card. But in that card, you can say, I'm going to call you. I'd love to come in and meet. Something like that. Ask for that 15-minute meeting as it sort of, remember, it's a gradual process. And at the end of the day, friends, we got to be careful not to sell our big idea, but to make sure it's theirs. In other words, Hans, did you establish if they do fundraising? Did you establish if they do events that are fundraising events? Did you establish if they've ever gone on a trip specifically to raise funds? You need to establish their problem. If they've got all the funds they need in the world, why on earth would they want to do a fundraising trip? If they've never done a trip together to raise funds, it might intrigue them, but you need to first establish the need or the problem. That's why just setting up a date to have coffee, just coffee, to learn more about him and the organization is the way to go, to have patience. If we spill the beans too early in an email, if we spill the beans too early when we're speaking with them, we're going to scare them. We're going to push them off. We need them to have that big idea. Oh, yeah, this is interesting. We do have our big anniversary celebration coming together for the organization, and maybe we can do a trip. Maybe it's domestic. Who knows? Let's not get into details, but I'm going to invite this guy, Hans, in. Let's have coffee, and we'll talk more about it. But go easy, tread lightly. Make sure you've established that they do have a need. They do have a problem. So Hans said, I did not, but I should have, and I'm creating one. Great. So Hans is referring to the free PDF handout. I've actually started that when I do my speaking gigs now. You know, when I'm doing a workshop, I always have a handout. But now I'm doing it even when I do a keynote. Even when I do a keynote, I'll give out a handout, and it's a fill in the blank. And here's what I'll say. Get this, everybody. You can rip me off. Do it. I'll say, hey, everybody, I'm hoping that you're going to be focused and riveted on what I'm sharing with you right now. And if you can't fill in the blanks fast enough, if you're not that fill in the blank learner, that's okay. You look at me the whole time. But I've got good news for you. I've set up a special web page where you can go to the web page and just download the PDF that has all the answers filled in for you. Everybody loves that. We do have some fill in the blank learners. And there's some people who would rather not write when they're listening and paying attention. And what does it do? It drives them to my website. And maybe they want more information. Maybe there's more opportunities, but at least I'm doing a subtle way of branding. Ceci says, hi, Stuart. I'm sorry, I just got in. Webinar link was stuck with no audio. Glad it works now. Oh, yes, Ceci. We had an 11-minute, maybe longer delay because the technology failed, but thankfully the folks that go to webinar got us going. Danny said, I've been on the call all along. However, I just got into the webinar. It took me all this time to get in. Welcome, Danny. I'm glad you're here. I hope you heard what I said before. If not, you'll get the replay, and I'm happy to help you. Hans said, very good thoughts. I have another talk tomorrow, and I'm going to approach it with my thank you note and a brochure follow-up. You got it. And look, I just want to show you. So I order these thank you cards. You know, these are you know, recycled paper, whatever. They're simple. I run them through my printer, and right at the bottom here, it says, nice and simple. You think big, I'll help you do big. Stuart Lloyd Cohen. I do a handwritten note, and I have stamps. I go to Hobby Lobby, and I have all kinds of stamps. So I stamp the thank you card appropriately. Great job. Wow, that was great. I'm very whatever. I bought a whole line of stamps, and that's how I make my cover. And then I write a message on the inside. Danny said, yes, you did. Good deal. All right, here we go. Now, Kieran, are you here, Kieran? Tell me. Are you here, Kieran? I don't know if you're here. Okay, here we go. She's got a whole bunch of questions here. So listen up, everybody, and please, if you have a question, a concern, a success story, a failure, share it here. If you have any questions about the upcoming Group Sales Success Summit 2, let me know. Our focus is going to be on mastering a niche. And I'm so excited because the feedback has already been great from agents and suppliers, especially niche suppliers, are jumping in. And I just got the keynoter, the #1 kickoff keynoter confirmed, but I can't tell you just yet. You guys know you're always the first I tell. I hope you know that. Okay, here we go. Kieran said, I just finished week 2 and I have so many questions. #1, how do you mark up when cruise lines and hotels provide a set commission rate? So let me just take that because there's a lot of questions here. Well, friends, those of you who've been in boot camp and have completed the modules, been on more Ask Stuart Hours, or been in for years, when you mark up when the hotels provide a set commission rate, in that case, when you're dealing with a vendor, with a brand or supplier, where they traditionally provide a commission, you simply net it down. Net it down. And I'm not an accounting major here. I'm not that good with numbers. I figured out how to do it. I use Excel. And if you need help, you go to your accountant or somebody who's real good with numbers, but you're basically just going to deduct that commission and take out all your NCFs, anything that's non-commissionable, taxes, fees, gratuities. You want to get the number, Kieran, you want to get the number that's commissionable. The bare number is commissionable, knock out the commission, and there's your net rate. So let's say you're earning 12%. So it's this much. When you knock out that, knock out the commission portion, you're going to be stuck with the net rate, which gives you an opportunity to add in a markup, your own margin, which ultimately should be more than 12%, which should be 15 or 20 or 25. And one of the secrets to success, Kieran, when you're netting everything down, because if you are bringing in peripheral vendors, some of them, smaller ones, might give you a net rate. And you'd be surprised sometimes if you ask, they might just give it to you. Even the bigger vendors too. But when you equalize all the numbers, when they're all net rate numbers, it's so much easier to apply the markup to everything, because it gets real messy and ugly. And mistakes happen if you're dealing with some commissionable rates, some net rates, and marking that up. It gets all cloudy and fuzzy. You need to take command, take control of the markup process. She says, is this true also for trip insurance? Well, look, every insurance company has different models. Some will give you a net rate, right? Some will not. So it's hard for me to answer. And so you're going to have to take it as it comes and talk to them about that. And friends, you're really not allowed to bundle in, package in trip insurance. There are creative and legal ways of doing it, but you're actually not allowed to do that, even though I recommend you bundle it all together, package it all in. Okay, there are creative ways. Don't have time to go into that now. We've talked about that at length when I've had some guests on, like Isaac from Travel Insured. Maybe we can champion that once again in the future as a good topic to discuss. The only way I could mark up a component is if I had a supplier give me a net. Oh, we just talked about that. Unless you're working with a DMC, right? A destination management company. A smaller company will normally give you a net rate. Okay. Also, how do you account for the commission split with the host? So this is important. So many of you are with a host or with a franchise. So first and foremost, Kieran, and everybody, if you're not already doing this, make sure you discuss with your host or your franchise what level of permissions you have, marking up and netting down, these kinds of things, because you have to make sure that their system will allow you to put in additional fees, right? Markups, whether they call it a service charge, everyone has a different system and a different model for it. And if you're not with a group that allows you to have some level of flexibility, some level of freedom, so that you don't have to be a commission hostage, and you could put in markups. They don't need to know about your net rate, how you're structuring it. You're calculating it by netting it down. They just want to know what you're charging. But there's got to be a way, a system, a method for using their computerized systems. And you also need to make sure, can you use a DMC or a vendor or supplier that's not preferred? And will they also take a piece of that if they're not a preferred supplier, preferred vendor? More than likely, yes. So especially if you want to get big time in the group business, you need to understand the ramifications, the opportunities, or the challenges of working with various hosts or franchises. I'm just saying, I believe most will accommodate, but you need to learn how. Next question is, why would I want to give trinkets from my supplier? Trinkets from your supplier. Anybody here get trinkets to give out from the supplier? It's got their logo on it. I prefer to give branded items from my own company. That's awesome. That's great. And as much as I agree with you, Kieran, that you're giving away a duffel bag from Royal Caribbean or whatever, people still like that. So maybe you can get their duffel bag with their logo on it that people are going to like, and you can put your own stuff on the inside that has your brand on it too. Just an idea. I'm a big believer in taking advantage of other people's resources. I should say OPM, other people's money. So if they're going to pay for something, then maybe, just maybe, they'll help fund the dual personalization. So maybe it's possible, Kieran. For any of you friends, have you ever got a trinket from one of your brands or suppliers, and when you needed 100 or 200 or 50, did you ask, hey, can you dual brand it? Can you put my name on it too? Sometimes it's print on demand, and you can put the group name on. Have you ever thought of that? When I was at DSM back in the day, they're called BDMs now, I used to always try to do that as best I could so it was dual branded. Have you asked? Okay, before I go on, let me check the boards here. Linda said, okay, Stuart, didn't take you for the crafty type. Good idea, though, for the thank you note. Oh, I'm very crafty, Linda. Yep, I think I would surprise you. Although my wife is a lot crafty than me, I do, especially when it comes to thank you notes, I do try to put some level of personalization on it. Danny said, what happens with the markup on a net rate if you are paying the vendor directly? Some cruise lines will only let you overcharge a certain dollar amount. Absolutely. And this is the biggest discussion of all that everyone throws back at me, rightfully so. Stuart, you tell me not to sell the bare bones stripped down off the shelf product for a group, which I stand by. Stuart, you tell me to add in and create a package, a more inclusive package, which I stand by. But we got a problem. How do we collect the extra monies? Because true, as to Danny's point, some suppliers will allow an overpayment. And sometimes it's not enough to cover the cost of all the add-ons you're adding. And also, mind you, I know what you're saying also, Danny, and the rest of it, you're saying, and some of these DMCs or small suppliers, they want their money now. So me, the agent, I got to put up money now before I get the money back from the cruise line, let's say, who's collecting the overage. I'm not going to get that money till time of sailing. So here's my answers to you, working backwards. Sometimes you need to have cash on hand, friends. If you're an entrepreneur, entrepreneurs have cash on hand to make wise investments like this. You can't let that stand in the way, especially when you feel really solid the group is going to work, that you got to put up the money. It's an investment. You put $1 into the ATM, you get 2 out. And the short and simple answer, Danny, that I'm leaning more and more towards in everybody, when you're putting a bigger markup on and that vendor cannot absorb the overage, and if you don't have a merchant account, which is expensive, if your host or franchise don't have a merchant account that you can use, then get the deposit by check. Get the deposit by check. And inside that deposit is not only the true deposit, but it also includes extra money to cover the overages. Does that make sense? You get it all more up front. And I know you're going to have some people, maybe younger people, who are like, oh, I don't have a checkbook. Well, that's fine. Have them send you the money via Venmo or PayPal, because you can exchange money via PayPal that way too. And it's not via credit card. It's checking account to a checking account. There are other programs in addition to Venmo, but I use Venmo all the time to send and get money from my kids, to collect rent from my tenants. I use Venmo. It's free. There's no credit card charges. You're just connecting your banks. That's what I would say. Probably at the end of the day, you just have to hunker down, make a decision, and tell people, look, the deposit is $500. It must be paid by check. And the rest, you know, will be a credit card that'll go to the cruise line or hotel or resort company. Linda says, I give out my own branded items as thank yous. That's awesome, Linda. What do you give out? I'm curious. I'm curious, what do you give out? All right, let me just continue on here. Friends, when negotiating, this is Kieran now, when negotiating the terms with the group lead, do you give the TCs, upgrades, etc. to them? Now, who knows the answer to that? The answer is no, 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 unless they ask for it. And it's never a gimme. Now, for those of you who are new at boot camp, maybe you haven't heard me say this yet. Normally, I say this ad nauseum because I want to make sure you understand the philosophy here. For too long, travel agents think that they are obligated to give back the TCs that they earn. And it's not true. Your contract with the supplier is your contract. What you earn is what you earn. You are in no way obligated to give back anything. So before you make those assumptions that all group leaders want to go free or want the TCs, you don't say a word. You ask, what do you want? What do you need? If they haven't revealed it, you might be surprised. Some may say, I'd like to earn 20 bucks a head. Some may say, can you upgrade me? If I book here, will you do me an upgrade? Some may say, I want to travel free. You've got to let them dictate what they want, friends. Don't assume and don't do an automatic give back. And then you've got to create the terms, the incentive. Think of a sales organization. Why on earth would a company pay a sales bonus to a salesperson who hasn't earned it yet? That's lunacy. Why on earth would you pay money to an upgrade, a freebie, to a group leader who hasn't earned it? You need to set up levels. Levels. Well, when we sell this much, you earn this. When we sell this much, you earn this. That will inspire the group leader to work harder. If they don't want levels, if they want gimmies, if they want guarantees, well, then they need to guarantee you success. If they're not willing to guarantee, you're not willing to guarantee. Am I making sense? Do you get it? Linda says, I have string backpacks, notebooks, pens, calendars at the first of the year. That's great. So friends, be inspired by what Linda does. It's an investment. Linda's an entrepreneur. I think notebooks are great because sometimes people use them as a travel journal. That might be a fun thing to do. You know, I like that a lot, Linda. And like I said, sometimes you can actually dual brand. Levels, levels, levels. Linda says levels. All right, here we go. So Kieran, I hope that worked for you. Her final question is, I have lots of questions around packaging. I can see doing private transfers, private excursions, pre-post, but these would all go through a third-party supplier who provide gross pricing. How do you get net rates to mark up? Okay, so this kind of flips us back up to the top just to end this line of questioning, and that you need to ask. Just ask, will you give me net pricing? And if they say no, then it's going to be a commissionable price, and as we talked about before, you simply net it down. I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, friends, whether you're adding in one shore excursion, whether you're adding one special private dinner, or whether you're adding in the cost of the custom t-shirts you're going to make up to give out to everybody, why on earth should you pay for it? They should. That you still need to mark everything down and apply a markup to everything. You don't have to mark up the t-shirts 20%, but yes, you do. You're providing value. People pay for service. People pay for value. Okay. Hey, friends, we've got 9 minutes left. I'm not going to keep you, even though we started late due to a technical situation. I'm not going to keep you past our designated time together. So please get in your questions now. So, because we got 9 minutes to talk about them. I want to tackle this here. Vincent, welcome back into boot camp, Vincent. He's an alumni, back in. He wants us to talk about writing letters of introduction about you and your company to churches, etc. Writing letters of introduction. So I want to ask you all this question, and I should post this in boot camp too, because I want boot camp to be an environment where everyone feels it's not competitive, but instead it's nurturing, that we are there to help each other out and we share best practices. So my question is this: would any of you want to share your introductory letter in boot camp, just to boot campers, so we can see how you do it? And if you're open to constructive criticism that I only do in a loving, constructive, respectful way, I'm happy to. Now, I made you this offer once before for the when we did the hot sheet, the one sheet, and some of you took advantage of it. Most of you didn't, and that's okay. But if you have an introductory letter that you wanted me to take a look at, boot campers only, I'm happy to do it. You can post it in boot camp so we get everyone's comments and questions and we can inspire others, or you can send it to me directly. So let me sort of boil down as I think through this question of what I think are the most important elements of an introductory letter. Number one, because there's been books and podcasts and essays written about this like crazy. When you say letter, I'm thinking actual physical paper letter, because there's different rules that apply to emails, but I'm going to give you general rules. Number one, that subject, the kickoff, has got to be interesting, and there's got to be some level of connectivity. Vincent, if you're going to put out a letter, whether it's a paper letter or whether it's an email, I got to know who you are, and there's some kind of connection, or else I don't know who you are, and I may not give you the time of day to read your letter, because I get bombarded with direct mail, I get bombarded with direct email. So what's the connection? Were you referred to me? Are you a member of my church? Have you bought my products before in my store? Have you read my book? Do you read my blogs? Did you see me quoted in a recent newspaper article? Vince, give me some level of connection so I know you're not just fishing, fishing for me to click on something, to open up something, because I don't have time. I'm a busy person. So that number one, I truly believe there's some level of connect. Even though if you don't know me at all, tell me you've read my stuff yeah, at least have a general understanding that, hey, maybe we're both local business owners in the same community. Tell me we're practically neighbors, something. So it's got to be personal. And it's overall, it's got to be short. What I have found, and I make this mistake all the time, I have so much information I want to share that I don't get responses on emails. Like I've been, well, the process is over soliciting suppliers and keynote speakers for the upcoming Group Sales Success Summit 2. I never got responses when my emails were too long, even though I had a big story to share. Huge. But it took people too long to read. It was too long to digest. They would come back to it because they wanted to make sure they read it before they answered or replied. So this is important learning from my mistakes. When you make things too long, if you make too many statements, if you ask too many questions in one letter or one email, it's going to get lower responses. It's just too darn long. So what you want to do is cut, trim. And you want to put out some kind of a compelling statement that who you are and what you're doing. And then maybe the third and final sentence is, can we jump on a quick call? I have a few questions for you. Are you free on Thursday for 10? I've done this and it works very effectively. Are you free on Thursday for 15 minutes, say 2 p.m.? Because that's really presumptive of you. It's pretty bold. It's pretty aggressive. But I find people will actually write back saying, I'm not available on Thursday. I don't want to talk to you at all. Or can we do Friday because I'm out on Thursday? Okay. Short and sweet and intriguing. Now, we can spend a lot more time on this, and I want to study this because it's a study for me too. How do you write the most effective letters? There's a great book that I've read that I highly recommend. It's called Launch by Jeff Walker. A lot of what Jeff teaches in his book is how I help create the group launch sequence. And part of his training is the sales letter that, which could be written, it could be on email, but he's mostly talking about email. It's called the sideways letter, sales letter. Sideways meaning it's a completely different strategy. He's brilliant. And he's a multi-millionaire because he not only launches his own stuff, but he does joint ventures with others too. So he calls it the sideways sales letter. All right. It's got to be intriguing where I'm interested in you, Vince. You got my attention here. Sure. Let's take a next step. So friends, we need to resist the urge to spill the beans too early. We need to resist the urge to tell too much of our own story. I don't have time to read it. We need to resist the urge to assume we know what your problem is. Okay? I mean, we know what their problem is. And that we've got the perfect, gadget and gizmo to solve it. Well, how do you know what my problem is? We don't even know each other. You're just selling something. Think about all the direct mail and emails that you get that you just click delete even without responding. But think of the ones, Vince, that you get, letters and emails, that you find interesting, intriguing. Are you keeping a folder? I do. I have a folder, an email folder, and I have a physical folder when I get mail, direct mail. And I find it well done, well written, and I copy, I emulate, I rip it off. Because if it got my attention, if it piqued my interest, P-I-Q-U-E-D, great word, then you can follow the same strategies too. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left here, friends. I appreciate you sticking with me. And before we close it out, I want to get with one more question or concept that's come up here. I want to ask you before I let you go, 2 minutes, you're not dismissed yet. If you have any comments, questions, issues you want to cover before I let you go. Okay. That's the LeBlanc. That's going to be in 2 weeks. I'm going to post that date. And okay, so this is a final from Karen. Karen's got a group that she wants to. It's a women's retreat. Maybe we should spend more time talking about women's retreats. I'm trying to get speakers who do women's retreats, successful women's retreats, agents in my agent showcase. So if you know of anybody, or if it's you, let me know, because I want to pick your brain and maybe we'll have you as a guest speaker. But she's targeting her a group. She's got a special meetup group, but they're not very active. The meetup group is not very active. And you know what? Maybe, Kieran, and you, everybody, if you're in a group and it's not very active, maybe you stimulate it. Maybe you be the catalyst for action and activity. Maybe you say, hey, on Tuesday, we're going to meet up, and I just got back from such and such, the brand new Celebrity Edge, and I got to tell you about it because it's awesomely fun. If you want to hear the inside scoop from a travel professional, I'll tell you where to go, what to do, and what's around the corner, what you can't miss. You know, bring your passion, your expertise. These people don't know your stuff, so you be the catalyst. Why wait for somebody else? You be active. You be aggressive in a beautiful way. You don't want to sell anything. You want to give information and inspiration. Does that make sense? All right, my friends, we are at time. A big thank you for the patience to get this meeting started. I hope you found today's session helpful. What'd you come away with? Is there anything that you wrote down? Tell me. Share with me. I'm grateful you're in boot camp. I'm grateful you're here today.